Hello and welcome to PhD Hard Talk. My name is Noma Mguni. I am the host and founder of PhD Hard Talk. I am so excited to talk to you today as Dr. Braj. Hopefully you're excited as well. Could you please introduce yourself and your research and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me again. And definitely it feels different coming again here on this platform. Cool. As you introduced, my name is Braj Bhushan Prasad, and I completed my PhD in passive damping technique, particularly when I say it's particle damper technique, through which I have tried to reduce the vibration and sound emission from wind turbine blade and generator as well as an electric vehicle powertrain. But it was not only the application, but understanding the chaos of particle damper, how it works and how it can be designed, how materials affect its performance, how we can make the granular material, for example, in motion in the cavities. All there are a lot of questions, of course, we will discuss while we go through this interview. But certainly, my work is mainly to reduce the vibration and amplitude of a mechanical structure.
Wow, that is amazing. So hopefully you reduce my voice with this discussion. Since I talk a lot. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this chat. So, the first question then is why did you even apply for a PhD? Reflections.
That's a great question. I have never applied for the PhD. It was always like I wanted to work, definitely, as an engineer, wanted to solve different problems. And then there was a job in the university because here you are, I mean, as I have also explained in the last video, I think here you don't call yourself PhD students. Of course, there are scholarship and then you are a student, you're particularly guided. But in my case, it was employed in the university as a research associate. And then you have to solve work on a particular project. And my project was somehow, we call it BMWE, that means the federal government fund that project and some industrial partners should be in that project. And I found it a good opportunity. Like it's a work between fundamental research as well as applications. So building a bridge between academic and industry. So I just applied to let's see how it works. Sounds interesting, the job and the project, but I was not aware of getting an idea that I will go for a PhD. It was just that I want to do a project. And suddenly, after a year, I was in a conference in Vienna with my colleague with a couple of beers in the night, almost 2 o'clock in the morning in a hotel lobby. We talked and said, I think we can do PhD. And he said, why not? And then the journey started. I said, let's do it. And then I'm here.
Lovely. That is such an amazing fairy tale. So, going backwards now, and again to the audience at home, you can watch the previous video. Um, Being an international student or researcher or worker, take us through that journey. What makes you say, I want to relocate, I need to relocate? And what does that come with in terms of pains, suffering, and also success? Because you are a success story.
It's a challenge, but definitely I would say it depends at what stage you have came to a different country. For me, it was started after completing my 12th standard in India, and then I landed in Germany. So I was really very young at that time. And when you're young, it's always like you are ready for anything. So you are naive, you are full of energy, you are full of hope, and you are ready to take the risk. So at that time, I was like, okay, anything will come, I will accept. But to the point, I wanted to leave India. The reason was that I was applying for IIT as a premier Indian Institute of Technology in India. Anyone who want to become an engineer in India would love to study in that institute or university, what we also call, because they have a good infrastructure, good professors, no doubt, and give a good platform at least at the bachelor level study. What I feel now they are also improving if they have a good research also. But unfortunately, I didn't get the admission, and then I thought, let's go abroad. If not IITs, then what? Because I was naive, as I said, if I don't study in the best college in the country, then I will not study in India. And there where I started applying everywhere. I mean, name a country I have not applied for. And it was like US, Canada, UK, Japan, France, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, almost Russia, and all possible countries. But then somehow I landed to Germany. And life was not easy. Definitely, it's not easy. When you land in this country, your bubble of dream bursts suddenly because definitely reality is a bit different than the dream. You face challenge, especially in Germany with the language. You face a lot of challenges in terms of food. You are missing home and everything. But I'm thankful to Germany, especially the place where I first came. It is known as Cologne. It's in North Rhine-Westphalia, a border of France and Belgium, let's say. And there, I made really good friends, and they had forced me to speak German. And they always said, Braj, I'm not going to speak in English with you because you will never learn German. So I'm thankful to those guys who never spoke to me in my mother tongue or in English. And that's how I learned German. And of course, my complete study was in German. Uh, and making friends was very, very difficult here because the university where I study is Technical University of Berlin, very large university, very big university. And first lecture, it was like almost 1,000 students sitting in a classroom. So you don't know where you belong, and hardly any foreigners. So everyone was not German, but let's say from mother tongue, they were German. And for me, it was very difficult from the mentality, from food, from understanding how they work. But somehow they made me to work like them, and I became like one of them. Let's say not completely, but 80%, yeah. But it's challenging. But at the same time, if you integrate, I always say, if you integrate in a culture, it doesn't matter in which country you go. If you integrate, you will always succeed. There is challenges, no doubt, but you have to keep integrating, understanding the mentality, understand the heartbeat. I always say, learn the language of the country, you will understand the heartbeat of the country, and then you will make really good friends there.
Yeah, I love that. But, looking at the world globally, a lot of people, they like to say, look at me. And I'll use this example again to say, I'm from India. There's no need for me to converge to this culture. And they come in with culture inertia. And they expect the country to converge towards themselves. I mean, we can see with some of the movements on Twitter, like, for example, I know people want belonging, they want to be understood, right? And they want to be in their communities. And I'll use this example, which is Black Twitter. It's only for Black people. We understand each other. This is, our Blackness, right?
Mm.
So, in your opinion, hearing what I've just gone through, do you think that stops you from succeeding and also, achieving your goals when you belong to such a belonging, if that makes sense?
That feeling I can completely understand. In my case, for example, I can say I was lucky enough to have friends throughout the world, from South America to Africa to Asia to Europe. So I can see how, for example, Indians stuck with Indians, Nigerian stuck with Nigerian, Chinese stuck with Chinese, and Arabic with Arabic. And I'm friend with everyone. Um, the thing I can understand, it's not easy for anyone to come in a foreign country and understand not alien, but a different culture, let's say. But at the same time, for example, if I take example of Germany, English speaking countries is still, let's say, very lighter in the mood when it comes to integrating. They are much easier than any other language speaking country like Germany or Japan. They are friendly, no doubt, but it's difficult just because of the language barrier, first of all. So I can understand it's not easy. And I see on the daily basis in the university also, like a lot of Indian students, they are stuck with their own community. At the same time, they also feel that they don't belong to this country somehow because they don't know the culture and something. But at the same time, for Germans, for example, it's not easy to understand us. The way we talk, for example, if I take Indian student, in my university, I just smile because I see the struggle of my colleagues. How when Indian students come, I understand theoretically, definitely, I understand both sides, so it's a bit easy for me. If I take example, for example, let's see, Indian students come, not all, but let's say my experience, I cannot generalize the stuff. And he want to write a master thesis at our department, then he promises a lot, which doesn't require, and deliver less, which is very normal in India. But it is not normal in Germany, because if you promise whatever, you have to deliver it. Let's say 90% at least you have to deliver. So that make it difficult even for German to understand. But they want to understand it, no doubt. My experience also said that when I took 10 steps, definitely they took 5 steps only. But there is now a position where they understand me, they understand my culture, they understand my humor. Even sometimes when I behave like Indians or talk like Indian or talk about India, they understand me. So I think it's a both way. It will never work in a one way. Of course, as a foreigner in a different country, we have to take more step. Whether it's fair or not, we can discuss on that. But unfortunately, as a foreigner, you have to take the step because we came in their country. But I'm sure the others also take the step. In my case, the whether it's a German, French, or any Arabic country, people are Indian or Chinese or from African continent, they all took a step to understand me when I started taking the step. So it's always a two-way thing. The one problem I always feel that it's good to find your own comfort zone. It's okay, people understand you uh, for your food, for your culture, for your thought, for your humor, and for your problems, whether it's financial or private problem. In Germany, it's a bit different, but they also understand, but at the different magnitude, at the different level. So I always say it's always a two-way path. If you are making a step and seeing that your friends belonging to any XYZ country is taking a step towards you, you can become a very good friend irrespective of culture. So I believe that it's my responsibility because I came in a different country. I have to take the first step. And if other person is taking also few steps, then at the end of the day or a couple of years, it will definitely be beautiful. But I can understand the challenges also.
So, in your opinion, would you say it is fair to say divorce your culture and you'll be able to then understand the people around you in that nation, and therefore then you're able to educate them because you're understanding their culture, their values, and also, in terms of how they think, their food. So therefore you're set up to succeed? Or would you say actually being you, unique in that sense, and sticking to your culture, it has benefits in the future should you stay in your own little group with the people that are from a similar culture as yourself?
The thing is that I always believe culture is something which keep evolving with time. Um, with the time, like when we talk about 500 years back, Europe was different, India was different. We changed a lot. So there are people who always believe, I meet them and they are proud of their country, they're proud of their culture. But I say, what is the culture? That's the first question. Like you are feeling comfort because you are grown up in that culture, your food habit, your mentality, everything belongs to that particular country or place because you're born and spend a lot of time there. For me, it's very difficult because now I spent 18 years in Germany. And of course, still schooling, I was in India. And I understand that both culture has their pluses and minuses. And somehow you become a person of the world. You don't, you don't, that's why I always say, let's say 1,000, 2,000 years back, what was the power? Power was the information and how the information came, people who traveled. Travel means not like putting a picture on the Instagram, but traveling in the sense like understanding the local language. For example, a lot of Chinese scholars travel to India through Himalaya. It was not easy at that time, but they came. They understand India, and they took the culture of India towards the China. Same happened with Japan also. So a lot of scholars have traveled throughout the world, spent a lot of years in a different country to understand them, and at the same time, the people belong to that foreign country also understand that person. So this is how we evolved. So I always say integrate. Doesn't matter where you go. Once you start, you will be also understood. I can just give an example. For example, when I was studying in TU Berlin, of course, my friends who were never gone outside of Europe, they never understand India. And one of my friends, he was also from India, and I was also from India, sitting on the same chair, having coffee with a couple of European friends. And they starting talking about India. They were curious, definitely. And the questions came, some critical questions. I was normal, I was ready to discuss. But my other friend from India, he got very defensive. Defensive in the sense, no, we are not like that. I just smile and say, he's not blaming you. He's just curious. If there is some uncomfortable questions coming about India, why you are so worried? Let's discuss. He doesn't know India. We live there, so we can present there. And same goes for Germany. If I call something about Germany, they smile. I mean, at least my friends. I'm not saying about complete Germany, but the people whom I met, they never got provocative. They always smiled and answered my questions. Doesn't matter how critical the questions were. Whether I talked about Adolf Hitler, which is one of the very critical topic in Germany, people don't like to talk about war. Either they are bored because everyone asks about that, or they say, they don't get offended, let's say, very easily. So one can learn, for example, what I have seen in Germany, people don't get offended very easily. Let's talk. We have a bad history. We cannot change it. So I'm that person with whom I'm talking. He's not responsible for Adolf Hitler.
Of
So why
course.
he should be ashamed of talking about that? So it's always I have seen that my friends, mainly if they are coming from India, they get very offensive, very defending when it comes about the critical issues about India, which is the reality. Casteism is the reality of India. You cannot hide your face and say no. Not every Indian speak English. So you cannot say that every Indian speak English. They don't believe on casteism. No, they believe it. These are the issues we need to raise. If you don't find the problem in your culture, it will never evolve. So I always say that it's simply about understanding and discussing. And if you are human to the world, or let's say a citizen of the world, you will accept plus and minus. Every country has their own pluses and minus. It's just where you feel more comfortable. But before analyzing whether you are comfortable or not, you should try it. Without trying, you cannot say. Like if I have a lot of friends from Nigeria, for example, and I was not able to understand. Of course, from India, it matches a lot with their way of thinking, no doubt. But their food habit was completely different than mine, and I was quite surprised. I laughed and they laughed. So sometimes you have to have a humor. You don't get insulted on that. But if I have did the same thing with my Indian friend whom I know, they have got insulted. So sometimes we learn a lot of things from different world, different people around the world. So let's say. So it's always like mix. They will, if you understand, they will understand. If they don't understand, then you can move away. I mean, why to be with people who don't understand you, irrespective of your culture?
Yeah, I think you've touched on some key sensitive topics there in terms of obviously Hitler and the caste system. But I'm tempted to ask this question because I interviewed somebody on PhD Hard Talk who was looking at, her name's Raghavi, and she was looking at the caste system in India to say people who were dark skinned essentially they didn't have that much opportunity. But what she did say was when she started her PhD journey in Italy was that she was of the lighter skinned caste, so she had a lot more opportunities back home in India. And what she said when she got to Italy, she was just a foreigner. She had no benefits, and life just changed like a full 360. And she went through a moment of like shock and a moment of like reality and then of doing in that situation. But her research then changed because she was focused mainly in Karachi. So that's her lived experience, and we can't take that away from her because that's what she knows, and then she's going to a different world. So I guess the question that I have in terms of the caste system, in your opinion, what are your thoughts with it and how do we stop it? Because if we have such a lifestyle in a country, I feel certain groups are marginalized. And if you're poor, then you're stuck for the rest of your life. Like you don't have that opportunity because people always see you as less than. And to me, that's just so unfair. And I know poverty has no color, it has no skin tone and what have you. But if you add caste system, then it does. So what are your thoughts?
I think that's the reality of India. But when I talk about caste, there are, I mean, every country has their, let's say, their own system. India had a caste system. For example, if we talk about Afghanistan, they have the tribe group, Hazara and Pathan and all those stuff. So they are divided in name of Hazara, where you come, they are not very well people. Pathan are well-known people in Afghanistan. Same comes to India. When you come back to India, it's about rich and poor. It's about casteism. I have seen casteism a lot in India, no doubt in that. But I also accept it has changed in 25 years a lot. But still, there are the reality of India in many cases. And it can be removed, let's say, or can be diluted into the society when people are educated. And education not in terms of just getting the degree, because there is a big confusion when we call about what education is, and many people say I'm an engineer, but still you can be an idiot. That doesn't make you qualified to talk on any XYZ topic. So these are the problems. One of the major problems what I in India feel, that anyone who doesn't have the opportunity to, let's say, study, I can understand that he has not seen the world or she has not seen the world. So I can give a benefit of doubt to their thoughts. Okay, they have not seen the world. The problem comes when people are highly educated, but still they believe on very orthodox mentality. And the reason is simply they have studied the subject, but have not understand the meaning of education. Um, Casteism is definitely a bad thing. Color tone is also is play a role if you're a fair color, and I have never understood where it comes from. Actually, I have to read it. Why fair skin in India has seen always a good, especially in the girls. They have issues. Like in small villages, if you go, if a girl has a dark skin, they have issue for marriages, and I never understood it. Why? And I have seen guys who are crazy for the fair skin color, and I never understand why you are attracted towards a skin color, why you are not attracted towards the personality. I mean, for me, I don't see any difference. If a fair person is there and he's an idiot, I mean, he's an idiot. So I can't see. Maybe due to my family, my dad and my mom, of course, they lived in the society where casteism was very high, but we were never taught about the casteism. So we have like color and casteism was never taught by my father and my mom. So I was like lucky enough to break that chain. Like my mom and dad broke this chain and I continued it. So I think we need more people who are ready to break the chain, and there are people, no doubt. There are people in the big cities who are breaking the chain and not believing in casteism, not believing in religion, but still the major part of India believe in it. And I think it will take generation to change. It cannot change in a particular day or particular month or particular year. It will take generation. Maybe the next generation will come and say, okay, for them it doesn't make any sense, and they will start asking the questions. If the society start asking questions, then only things will change. And if they believe on what they have been fed in their mind without analyzing whether you worship, whether you believe on a god or not, whether you believe on XYZ nationality, be proud on national thing, or particular ideology, let's say, without asking a questions why you are following that particular ideology, if you don't ask questions, you feel dumb, and society will not change. And I've seen many people who have done research and PhD and still they are idiot and simple because they are good in their subject, no doubt. That's why they've done PhD. But ask apart because they are not rational thinker. I have seen many Indians, for example, holding PhD and they go in the temple. I'm not against in going in the temple. I'm just asking, what is your reason? Because for me, I never understand whether there is a God or not. It's a very open question to me. So if I don't understand something, then what should I know? What should I do? So I just don't do anything. I don't believe on anything. If I cannot say whether there is a God or not, and I cannot justify there is no God. I cannot justify there is a God. So I cannot justify both sides. So I stay in between. And the problem with many that they believe on certain thing even after doing PhD, because I think if you do research, you are a rational thinker. You ask questions. And if you do something without asking questions on such a big ideology, I always ask why. So I think the best thing is that from the childhood, raise the child, don't kill their curiosity because of the society, make them, raise them to ask questions on everything. And if you don't know the answer as a parent, tell them you don't know the answer. You will find the answer. Don't try to be over smart and say something lie. So I think the children can change the generation and we can feed their knowledge, make them curious by asking the question and not just giving the false answer. So generation will take to change this.
No, that's very interesting and, and very complex, I believe, in terms of the differences, like you went to tribes and all that stuff. I guess the question that I will ask you, and it might be uncomfortable, is in your opinion then, when you were applying to that university that rejected you, that made you go global,
Yeah.
do you think the caste system played a role in terms of your rejection?
No, I think at least the exam which I have given in IIT, casteism doesn't play a role because you don't put your caste in the form. You just put your name, so nobody knows. Of course, there are some surnames where castes are known, but it doesn't play a role in that IIT JEE exam because you write exam and all are computerized. Everything is done by machine. If you pass the exam, then you get the admission. So definitely caste doesn't play a role in such a big prestigious institute like IIT or any big. If you go upper
Mhm.
in upper position, becoming like a scientist or a big businessman or a big politician, then caste doesn't play a role there. And that's the beauty. What I always, that's a, let's say, a very contradictory point about India. Casteism always play at the low level. At the high level, I have seen casteism doesn't play a role because you have to prove yourself to be there. You cannot become a good professor just because you belong to a certain caste or certain group. You can only become a professor if you are good enough. Let's say a little bit of favorism are done on everywhere. Even in Germany, if you have good networking, you can be brought to the interview table. So that kind of favorism is done everywhere, but not because of caste or because of anything. So I don't think casteism play a role when you want to achieve big in India also, and even here in Germany, nothing. Of course, people are there to stop you for a particular XYZ reason they have, but if you are talented, work hard, and you have proved yourself, nobody can stop you.
Yeah, I love that. So to move on from this question, the next question, it has to do with funds. As you know, we need money.
Yeah.
And you've then relocated to Germany, and there's somebody somewhere, not particularly in India, but we'll say the global south, who wants a fairy tale story just like yourself. And you've been honest to say there were trials and tribulations when you relocated. So what does that look like then? Me moving from my home country, and I've got a dream, I'm young, I'm ready financially. How do I survive and how do I cope? How do I make money during that transition?
It's definitely a big issue when you come to a foreign country. Finance is like I came from a middle class family, so in the starting I brought couple of thousands euros, but that was only enough for a year. And I didn't knew what to do and what not to do. Every international student faces that problem because in terms of if you want to get a home, hardly it's very difficult for international students to find a home because you don't have a support who gives the deposit of the money. For Germans, they have their parents. So, of course, they have a different starting line than any international students. That is acceptable. But the thing what we do to get finance ourselves, let's say I worked in a restaurant, I worked in a bar, I did every odd jobs which was required to finance myself at that particular region, at least till bachelor, because till bachelor you are not qualified to do any good job. Let's say once you have a degree you can say okay you can work as a in a research institute in the university, but before that you have to do a lot of odd jobs, which I did. And what I learned from there, I mean, I was working with cook, with the waiter, with the people who are sanitary, who are like cleaning the toilet and everything, and I've seen their life. So I am always thankful. At that time, of course, I didn't feel like that. At that time, I was like, what the hell I'm doing with my life? I should get out. I should get a job. So I was frustrated and angry. But now when I look back, I say, if I had not been in those positions, I would not been here. And that teaches you to be humble. That teaches you that doesn't matter what happens in your life, you can go back. I mean, where you have started, you cannot go below that. So it doesn't matter what happens in your life, you are strong enough to deal with it. And that teaches you to deal with the failure, which I have seen in my couple of German friends. If they don't get something which they are working hard, they get frustrated. Not everyone, but a couple of I have seen, which I was not, because I've seen thousands of failures in my life. So I think if German student, for example, getting the further line because they are financially more stable in compared to any international students like me, then on the other hand, I'm getting the experience which they will never get. So, but there are Germans who work like me when they were from the good family. Their family said, no, you have to finance your study, but still they were secure that if something goes wrong, there is something for them. But in my case, it was not the scene. But still, that what that teaches you is valuable. So I think that is a problem at that time. Many people get frustrated and they get irritated. But after a couple of years, when you look back, it's the most beautiful time you had to spend. I mean, now when I will get the time to go in a kitchen and work with a cook, I mean, he taught me how to cook. He taught me how to do it in a restaurant, making biryani or all these things. So I learned a lot of things which I have never learned if I've never did that. So every side has a plus and minus, and I always see I'm a bit optimistic person, so I try to see always the positive side. Doesn't matter how the struggle is.
I love that. So I'm going to invite myself to yours to come and have a biryani, not to self. So I've invited myself to yours. The next question, I guess, is in regards to imposter syndrome. A lot of people feel like they're less than, and I think, like you've reflected and said, do you know what? That was my life then. I had to do what I needed to do. And with yourself, and I know life is just impossible, and sometimes life is very candid,
Yeah.
to put it that way. How did you manage imposter syndrome if you suffered from it? If you did not, that's okay, as well. Is that something that you encountered?
I think I never suffered it. I was enjoying everything what I came from. I can just give you a very small example. I was living in a big city in India, not big city, but a city, not big city like Delhi or Bombay, but
Mhm.
a good city, let's say. And then my father got transferred in a village. I was the very happiest person. My sister was very sad. They were saying, "Oh, we were living in a good city. Everything was so nice. Now I have to go in a school which is not that good as I was." And I was the happiest person. And the reason was simply that I was looking at the field of that agriculture field, and I was happy that I can fly the kite, I can run through that, which I've never got in the city, for example. I don't
Mm.
know what I was thinking at that time, but I was happy. And then I moved towards the big city and keep moving towards a different. And but I've enjoyed every phase, and the reason was simple because I knew it's temporary. That's not the
Mm.
permanent. I believed. I mean, I love philosophy. I love poetry. I love literature, and my school teacher were very good in teaching poetry and literature. So I can say thanks to them now, because a couple of lines what they have taught me while teaching the poetry of different poets had stuck in my mind a lot. And I always understood one thing in my life, that nothing is permanent, so why to worry? What I am today, I will be different tomorrow, either less or big. That is not in my hand. What I can do, I will do definitely, and something which I cannot do, I cannot do. So I should live with that and accept it. If there is a bad day, the good day will come. If there's a good day, bad day will definitely come. So I'm always actually sad when the bad good days come, because I know now the bad day is gonna come someday. So
Mm.
always be happy when there's a bad day, because the opposite of bad is always good. So if you're suffering, the good day will definitely come. So I'm hopeful in that situation. And there's also saying in Russian also, no, that if you are very happy, be careful, because now something will hit you hard.
No, I agree with that. And the next question, just leading on from that, is, you've moved, you're in Germany, it comes with a visa. Now, speaking to other international students and from their DMs that they send me, not that I'm qualified to answer, they ask about the visa status, and they panic because they know that they need to finish within a certain period of time in terms of their research, because their visa expires at a certain point. And obviously, to apply, you have to have a sponsor. Take me through that journey in terms of what it looks like in Germany, and also how does one